Is absolutely. So, you know, like all I can say is like really like look at what you're doing and you can interpret it or study the idea of it, and you can apply energy to those movements. So like after I damage, maybe I damage my elbows a little bit, you know, I want to come here and do a nice stretch in my elbows. Or maybe these air punches, when you first start, these air punches can hurt and give you some hyperextension. But then you have, say, when we do these long techniques, we keep that elbow still and locked out. So the Shunsa will help strengthen up that elbow.
Now that's the perfect example right there, though. Like the second section where you were talking about both hands going out, and then they pin and both double come down, you know. So they'll both double come down like that. And then you have the idea that you're also getting some recovery in your elbow. At the same time, you're also getting this training and recovery in your shoulders. On top of that, you're training something in your back that's really important for your lats. On top of that, you're training long arm energy, pinning force and raising force. It's like 10 things going on at one time there. And like when I say that you're doing some serious work for recovery or healing for your shoulders, really, I'm telling you, look at that shoulder thing too. Especially obviously the elbow thing too. We know that. And everyone thinks the wrist, of course, first thing you're looking at is the nature of that wrist, right? But obviously what's going on with the elbows in here, what happens there, you know, what happens here, you know, what's going on with the body, you know, what are we trying to make everything do, you know, but what's our shoulders doing now? How are we making our shoulders and our back work? Like what's going on there? How does it go from being to your borderline? Everything has to be more on center, you know. So you're looking at the nature of a technique that has so much involved forearm conditioning, but especially the shoulders though. You know, what it's doing for your shoulders and the lats and stuff, very important.
If I can, Sifu, add this with energy, starting your engine and healing, and how that I've seen this since I've been doing the forms and stuff. It's kind of like starting your engine, and your engine stays warm throughout the day. That's basically putting your energy into your body, and that kind of gets your body going. It gets your breathing going, your blood flow going through your heart. I think that really contributes to healing. I used to do a lot of workouts in my military days, and basically when you work out or you do something in the morning, you kind of warm up your engine and it kind of burns for the rest of the day, depending on how you get going that day. So that's a real big contributor. I think me being in a better feeling now.
That's 100%. That is 100%. And people should be writing that down as a note for sure. Because it's odd. You literally said something almost the same way my Sifu would say it in the old days. Like when we had always talked about starting your engines and having your engines run all day and stuff like that. That was really good. Very important analogy. So, you know, and you may want to write that down. And I hate to bring it back to advertising, but we might have to put that on advertisement. I'm just saying, you know, learn how to do a morning workout.
Everything go out there and find out what works, you know.
No, man, I'm telling you.
Put as much out there, find out what works and go from there.
Right. But there's words though that, you know, we can't take these words for granted. Like these observations you're making right now, you will understand in the later after you have more training going on. I'm telling you, you're going to look back and we're going to remind you of it. These observations are quite priceless, okay, and unbelievably useful. Because we have to be able to discuss Wing Chun with the younger students who are coming into the Kung Fu family. You know, what is it that they really see? And also, what is it we have to address for them, what they can learn from Wing Chun? But for more importantly than all of that is what we learn from what you see. That is important. So, start your engines, boys and girls.
There was when I was in Russia, they would have us do these morning joint mobility exercises. So
Russia.
This full.
Yes, my Russian girlfriend is going like, is he talking about Russia? What are you fucking kidding me? I'm just kidding. I'm joking, man. So, hey, this was the Russian joke, man. America, calm down, damn it.
So they would take us through this full body joint mobility every morning. And the explanation was, obviously, you can't warm up before battle. So the military, the soldiers would have to have their morning, like basically get your engine started in the morning so that they would be warmed up and ready to fight for the entire day, which of course we do that just by doing our forms. You wake up in the morning, you do your senum now, because that you're I can't hear you, Sifu. Your mic's off, Sifu. Your
Hold
mic's
on.
off.
No, I was saying, I'm just saying, like, you want to hear the truth. I said that from the mouth of babes, suddenly the truth comes out. From the younger student, the baby in the family, the truth just comes out. Because everybody knows you should work out in the morning. Wing Chun Kung Fu, we work out in the mornings, But when you hear the reasons why, what's the most important, These things make a lot of sense. They click. You really enjoy it, Obviously, a lot of people have done a lot of morning workouts. We know what that's like, especially in Wing Chun. You get up in the morning, play a form to start your day. One of the smartest things a person can do. That's unbelievable, right? Years and years of that experience. You forget about that, then you have to have a younger student come along and remind you about that and how important it is to other younger students, though. Because everybody needs to know this, whether they're a student of the Wing Chun or not. We should be putting it out there. So, hey, train in the morning. Do your 15 minutes. Why not? Do an hour. Be like the Russian guys. Work out in the morning to get ready for that fight in the afternoon.
Your Kung Fu brother Lester, so Sibak Lester, those old newsletters he used to do.
Hello.
He would put in in the morning, play your Sinum Tao. In the evening, play your Sinum Tao. In the day, also play your Sinum Tao. So his advice was just play Sinum Tao.
We're all set up. Thanks a lot, though. Appreciate it.
But play more Sinum Tao. So remember those newsletters that Lester used to do? Sifu?
Of course, man.
So,
we have a freaking file this big of Lester's. We haven't even released those things yet. They're coming out soon.
I just remember the one time he actually gave here's my Kung Fu advice. In the morning, play Sinum Tao. In the evening, play Sinum Tao. During the day, play Sinum Tao. So it was just the most simple but perfect advice. That's the one thing I remember a lot, but that was the one thing I really, really enjoyed out of those newsletters. Was just play Sinum Tao.
That's the old way, What Sifu told us all back in those old days was only practice your Kung Fu when you really feel like it, When you start Wing Chun, don't force yourself to practice if you don't feel like it. Only practice it when you really feel like it. It's very important, So, of course, a lot of us listen to his advice. You end up practicing so much it's ridiculous, though, because you're sitting there sometimes watching a TV show, suddenly you get an urge, you want to play a couple of forms, right? Jump up and do it. Why not? You get a lot of Kung Fu in that way. Years and years and years of that go by. You don't even remember, all the times you've done some additional working out like that. And you begin to even wonder, damn, where'd I get all this Kung Fu from? How do I even have Kung Fu? I don't understand it. And you take a little time and think about it. You remember all those different times you suddenly felt like doing your forms and you did it. I mean, you can push yourself to do a program where you have to be on a schedule. And Sifu was okay with that. When he talked about when it came down to real heavy schedules like that, if someone really wanted to do something intense, he's like, well, they got to have a really good reason, In most cases, he almost equated it to someone having some kind of medical problem, and they needed a remedy, somehow something happened. So, if you want to train extra hard, which we've all gone through, we love it. I've been through so many different intensive trainings over the years, and you always enjoy the result, You do certain things, some body work, whatever, and then you enjoy the results. The summer gets here, you're at the beach, your body's all electric, your Kung Fu's feeling real good. The girls love it. So that was when I was a kid,
Girls still love it.
Oh, good, that's good. No, for sure, you have to enjoy your health. work hard, do what you have to do to make sure to enjoy your health, you know?
Super, just so you're aware of the schedule, it's 2 after 12 now.
Bye-bye, fellas. Now we got to get ready to go, I know. So anybody, one last question for Aaron, please. Give him a question about the iron. Give Aaron a good question about the iron. It cannot be one of Aaron's students. All right, it has to be someone from Detroit. So, and we get someone from Fredericksburg. All right, so Rick and Randy asked the last two questions. The youngest student here in Fredericksburg. And then we have a up and coming seeing. How long you been training now, Randy?
Good question, C-Tai Gang. I believe this is 6 years.
That's pretty good. You've become a full out seeing then. I remember when he was such a young buck, you know.
I have
Now
a
he's
question
a
for him.
seeing, huh?
I have a question for Aaron.
You have a okay, fine. Tamara apparently has a question for you, Aaron.
So
Okay.
Aaron, you're known to do the heavy lifting. How does the heavy lifting affected your Kung Fu and how the Kung Fu affected your heavy lifting?
Oh, the Girevoy? You mean like Girevoy sport? Like
Yeah.
I didn't understand what you asked.
Yeah.
Okay. How it affected? I became advanced, and I mean I made it. I mean I won a world championship at as a heavyweight, and I was able to gain skill extremely fast because of my Wing Chun. And the style of gear, the style of kettlebell sport, not American kettlebell, but actual Russian kettlebell, is very relaxed. And the main focus is on structure and breathing. So obviously my main focus in Wing Chun has always been movement, breathing, structure. So it's kind of the same thing to me. So all I did was apply my Wing Chun to my weightlifting, and I gained skill very fast. And as a coach, you know, someone who was very highly respected and you know, very successful coach in that around the world. I pretty much just ran my team and my gym just like I was a Sifu. They call me coach instead of Sifu, but I ran it the same way. I treated it just like it was Kung Fu in my own mind. I wasn't saying that or advertising it as such, but anything I've done in that sense, I've usually, whether it was going and doing sambo or wrestling or judo or whatever, the Kung Fu, the Wing Chun is what allowed me to be extremely successful because the study of Wing Chun is the study of the nature of the human body, how the body works, how the body moves. So that said, you know, obviously what you bring to Wing Chun will be amplified. So if I go and spend a year playing soccer, playing football, I'll get very good fast because I know Wing Chun, but then I start Wing Chun again, I'll realize I've gained like a few years of experience in Wing Chun.
Yeah, but the
Just by
question is
using-
though, is a lot of people who study Wing Chun don't seem to have the exact same results. I guess you have to learn the Wing Chun correctly somehow. Oh, that means you've got to have a Sifu who really knows the Wing Chun system and actually transmits it correctly. I get it. Okay, just checking.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, I did well because I have the Wing Chun, and that energy, that strength, that power I developed in that style of kettlebell lifting and weightlifting and barbell. Obviously, I brought that to my Kung Fu, and it made my Kung Fu better in itself. I had better structure, I had better health, better feeling because it was amplified by Wing Chun. They weren't two separate things for me. I mean, at this point, I know it sounds dumb, but everything I do, I consider Wing Chun because I can't not have Wing Chun at this point.
Everything, I think all exercises technically are Wing Chun. I mean, everything is human movement. The question is, how efficient do you become? How much do you understand the actual structure of the human body? But more importantly, how much do you understand of the structure of your own body? It's great to understand an overall thing about anatomy, but it's really your own body that you have to study. With Wing Chun, you got to tap in, you know, and you got to examine yourself thoroughly. That's the great thing about Wing Chun, because you got to make a technique work for you. You know, what has to be explained here for some people in this program here is how, like, the Wing Chun primary techniques are Tan, Bong, and Fook. And honestly, everyone's going to favor one of those. One technique, not so much as that it's your favorite, but you're going to favor it. You're going to become attached to it. You'll be dependent on it. There's something, one of those three techniques is what every human has to choose from. You know, you might be decent at all of them, but one will be something, one will be the one you master for sure, you know? And that's interesting if you think about it. So all movement, all martial arts is really, everything's Wing Chun, everything's Kung Fu, so to speak. It's all working to get to the most efficient level possible, right? So everything is Kung Fu, you know? Everything's Kung Fu. How do you get to the highest level of being the most efficient and effective that you can be? And how do you get to the point where you can have the total economy of motion? Like everything is efficient, effective, the economy of your energy, the economy of motion, the economy of the process itself. Like, what do you understand about it for yourself? Like, what do you understand about your body, you know, to make your Kung Fu? Because everybody has their own Kung Fu. Wing Chun leads you to be free with your Kung Fu. We don't look like robots for a reason. Everyone looks so different as they apply their Wing Chun Kung Fu technique. It's amazing. It's very refreshing, you know, very refreshing. It works for some people, doesn't work for others, but it all works for everyone. Everyone's going to find their way to make it work. Something is going to work, you know.
Sifa,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's one other thing to Tamar's question that I should answer. The main kind of one of the big things that I needed and the big benefit to starting, say, competing in kettlebells or anything else I've done is realistically that, you know, there was a time like, you know, 10 years into my training, you know, my full-time job, I mean, I taught Kung Fu for full time. I needed another outlet other than Kung Fu to just kind of occupy a certain space in my mind. So I looked for other things that let me sort of balance out my work and my enjoyment and so on and so forth. For me, I've always looked for other things that might be related, but still be something that's slightly different. So it kind of helped me stay energized with my Kung Fu and stay energized with my professional life of teaching Kung Fu. And that's really why I looked at something like that. It wasn't just because I wanted to go travel and compete. I never thought about that at all. That just was, you know, what happened, I guess, from, because I don't do anything half-assed, I guess. I was trying to put my energy into everything. But I thought it was just going to be a quick hobby just to do outside of forms and training. But anyway, so that's probably the most legitimate answer that I could give her.
I have my question ready, and it's actually based on what we were talking about, and it's kind of like the mindset. And my question is just on the mindset, not on pretty much all the other things associated with it, but the before mindset, iron, and the after mindset, iron. Keeping it simple. Like, what's your mindset before you go into the exercise, the forms, the event, and then how your mindset, how you gonna digest all the information, all the forms, and all the experience after?
Is this a question for me?
Knowing, and then you're gonna get out knowing or experienced with some kind.
Yeah, I mean, if this is a question for me, you're
Yeah,
going to be pretty disappointed. I don't think about anything. I have never been out of my Kung Fu brothers, I've never been the one that really puts a lot of thought or energy into thinking about the Kung Fu. I've always just gone straight ahead. It's like, oh, cool, let's do this. Or, you know, like I put a lot of thought into my students and my students' training, but realistically, I don't know if I have a mindset. It's just, it's time to do Kung Fu. We do Kung Fu. I enjoyed hitting people. I enjoyed getting hit. I like the training, but, you know, so I don't think I can't give you an answer that you would probably like. because that's not my nature. My nature isn't to put a lot of thought into I like to kind of train as thoughtless as possible. I mean, I write stuff on a list. Like I like lists. I like checklists.
That's
These are
smart.
things I want to hit in my training month. But I don't think, I just do, I guess. Which, I have students who are very thoughtful. Nick's very thoughtful. Other people are very thoughtful in their training. But for me, I just want to hit people and get hit. I mean, simple as that. So I'm sure Eric probably has a better answer. Eric's a very thoughtful seeing of mine. But for me, I don't put a lot of thought into it, to be honest. My Sifu writes tons of notes. I love his notes. I love the diaries he's kept. But for me, it's like I just go and like getting hitting people. But yeah, so no good answer for you. Sorry.
Actually, you have a very great answer.
All right, Cecil Gung,
Well, thank you.
I've thought of my question for you as well. So iron, I think, when I think in terms of iron, I think it's like basically a metal. And until it's heated up and put into some kind of a cast or mold, it's really of no value. And I think that's kind of what happens with us in the Wing Chun system. What are some of the things, I guess there's also a thing about, what type of heat we expose it to, how long, and these types of things. In your experience through the years, are there some keys that you found in helping to develop your students through that process? And from our own, I'm kind of like you, I just go through and do things. Like my Sifu said, you made a comment, if I could, you made a comment about, not destroying our knuckles, right, on the Sabao, but my Sifu says, go and apply Bilji energy to it, right? So I do that and I tear my knuckles up. So that's too much heat at that point, I guess.
Well, I mean, there's also refinement of technique. You can put 100% of your force into a Sabao without scraping your knuckles. So a sloppier, like if I punch and slide, it's going to damage. If I can freeze, there's less damage. So that's not a question of energy. That's a question of refinement, which really, to simplify in my mind what you're saying, like how we went from iron to steel to, other forms. How did we learn to take silver out of iron? That's all, knowledge and refinement. So it's just, there's no secrets in Wing Chun. There's no secrets in Kung Fu. The only real secret is that you don't have enough Kung Fu to see what's right in front of you. So my Sifu used to talk a lot about filters we would have in front of us, right? So I always looked at that as, the more Kung Fu you have, the more Kung Fu filter you have. So, you see someone on day one, you tell them to do a Tan Sao, it looks like this. Their Hyun Sao looks like this, but you're definitely demonstrating this. You're showing them this, right? But they look like this, and they don't see a difference, right? They don't have that filter to see the fine movement. So the more Kung Fu you have, the more refined your filter is to see better movement and better Kung Fu. So that's what we're talking about. How do we turn iron to steel? It's through our forms, it's through our training, right? So that's our refinement. That's our formula, really, is, what degree we temper, how do we harden the steel? How do we do all that? Well, that's just science on how to do it, right? It's like, how do we know to do a heat treating process to steel to harden it, to keep it from being brittle? Well, that's just, knowledge that we have in our training. So, is Pak Sao completely necessary to Wing Chun? Probably not, but it is extremely helpful for our Wing Chun, and we should do it because that's part of the refinement process. So, I mean, they say you can learn all your Wing Chun through Sinam Tao, but everything else makes you learn that Wing Chun a lot faster with a lot more efficiently. So our drills help us understand the Kung Fu much faster. So I would say, to answer your question, that's how we do it. And then how do I train people? I train people very boringly. Like I want people to work, say if I want to work on a Tandar drill in Chi Sao, I will have them spend an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours working on nothing but that. I really like people to become, I term micro experts, if that makes sense. I want everyone to become an expert at one little thing.
You like
every
what
week.
Wing Chun does anyway. You're making it sound like you're the only person that trains people in such a focused, detailed way. Every Sifu in our family, especially in the My 3, does that, knows that. That's the way they were trained. That's the way my brothers from the SSA, who are actually worth their salt, train people. The ones that don't train people that way, we don't pay attention to. And anyone who's in the grand students or great grand students who's a Sifu better train people that way too. If you don't isolate certain details, then you're not really paying attention, because we have a certain way we train people in this Kung Fu family. We don't change it. And anyone who actually is a Sifu in the family has to stick to that. Don't forget. So make that clear.
Absolutely. This is the Kung Fu that I learned from my Sifu. This is the way I do
We
it.
learn it
because
from the
this is the way
system, the
we
Wing Chun system passed down correctly by our Sifus. If it wasn't for Yip Man, we wouldn't have shit. We better be happy about Yip Man. But look at all the stuff he went through, though. And then, of course, more yacht. I don't want to get into that, you know. But yeah, for sure. For sure.
Approaching 12:20.
The what?
It's almost
Yeah,
12.
okay. We got to wrap it up by now. I'm just checking on a couple things, making sure everything's up to date. Any more questions, you guys? Wrap up the questions real quick. Let's see, who else do we have here? All right, Aaron, you get one more question.
Okay. Anyone?
Alfred, you there? You had a question.
Let's see, who's volunteering right now? Okay,
well, yeah.
Greg.
I'm sorry.
What?
Alfred from Detroit is speaking.
I thought Greg was asking a question. All right, Aaron has two more questions. Greg and Alfred.
Disgusting.
Go
Who's
ahead.
going
Cecil.
first?
Greg, you're going to have to unmute.
Alfred goes first, and then Greg goes.
Okay.
Alfred
Oh, okay.
spoke up first.
My question is that kicks and kicking. I know I'm to my seat I and my Sifu and my Sihings, I'm a pest about it. But the engagement of the kicks within the system. I mean, I respect and I love all my Sihings, and I see their little special grooves they've gotten into in the Kung Fu when it comes to the Detroit school, and I want to have that particular marker as well. And I want to get an engagement with the kicks. And when does that particular focus on the training take place?
I mean, the way my Sifu taught me was, we learn our boxing skills first, and then we focus on the kicks later, but the kicks are always part of the system. So, you may not see the footwork, but just being able to move in a horse is still training your kicks and your footwork. So realistically, I know there was a video, maybe as Wing Chun Essentials or Look of a Kick from Sigung Moyat, that said, we don't train the kicks early because it's too easy to maim or kill somebody. Like you kick somebody and then you stomp on their face, like was his demonstration in the video. And that's why we don't train beginners because they can't control that. Like the kick is so easy to hurt somebody. Like, you get into a stupid fight at a bar, or you get into a fight with one of your friends at a party or whatever. You don't want to hyperextend and damage their knee just from a simple kick and they're crippled for life. Or, you say you kick them in the stomach, they go down, that next kick hits them in the face, suddenly you broke their neck. So that was one of the reasons, but realistically, it's more along the lines of we got to bring our boxing skills up to a certain level before we're willing to take our feet off the ground. Like I don't want to really raise my foot up too much, especially because a lot of my, not that I fought a lot, but I trained a lot, like at UFC gyms, at other places in the old days before they were a branded thing. Every time I lifted up my foot that's when I got taken down. Maybe because it was like I was pretty young in my training. My kicks weren't that great either back then. But realistically, I wanted to fight very planted, and I got used to kicking only really when I was holding on to the person. That said, as soon as you really train the Gurkjong and the Muay Fa Jong, that's what really brings out the kick training to me. I think it's an integral, very, very important piece of training that I luckily was introduced to by Sifu when I was very young in my training. And I have one in my backyard. And I think that is what really leads to great skill of the kicks. You can get great knowledge from the forms, but being able to kick a jong, with full force, full impact, and not knocking yourself over is an important thing to train.
Thank you.
Okay, here. I'm sorry, I lost internet for a minute. Yeah, so just focus on the boxing. The
Right.
kicks will come. I mean, just train the kicks, train them a
Yeah,
lot, train them in the
but
air,
look,
train your.
one other thing to tell Alfred though, right? And everybody,
Yes.
remember that everyone is going to develop their own technique, right? But also when it comes down to kicking, everyone has to develop their own kick for sure. You can't sit back and say you have to throw a high kick. Your body has to train, number one, the way that your body is really going to be, with the way your body is designed is the way it's going to be able to throw a technique. If you're going to try to throw a technique that's outside of your body design, you have to do a lot of special training for that. It could also hurt your body to train the wrong way. So Wing Chun's going to allow you to take the path of least resistance to get the best technique that you can develop for yourself. You got to get that set up first. Some people are just going to favor that lower kick. Some people might need a high kick, or they always want to throw their kick to where the floating rib area, whatever. Someone hit their hip bone area, but some folks it's like, got to be that knee. It's got to be that knee, whether it's the front kick, side kick, whatever. Do you need a high kick? Who cares? What's the most important thing is that when both your feet are on the ground, though, you don't fall over. That's number one. So you need a stance that you have to develop from the very beginning, and then be able to use your upper body to do what you have to do with someone attacking you, and only kick if you absolutely have to kick. That's the first thing you learn about all martial arts fighting. You kick only if you have to kick. Then when you decide to start getting into training where you're developing dim gurk, wong gurk, some type of chi gurk exercise or specialized kicking in any way, put your mind to it and do it. Wing Chun's not going to make your mind have to think about things that are not the most important thing to do in a real fight, though. When you first start learning those first few years, developing your hand techniques is the most powerful thing you can possibly do. And Wing Chun is famous for hand techniques that are amazing. That's all there is to it. When you start getting into the kicking, make sure you put some of that emphasis on the kicking. If not, give your kicking technique that same famous legendary training that you would give the Wing Chun hands, give the Wing Chun kicks, the Wing Chun legs, So hands and arms, feet and legs. What does it take to have a good kick? What does it take to have a good punch, whatever? One thing for sure, all of it depends on a good horse.
Thank you, Si Taigung.
No problem.
Greg, you got your question?
Yeah, my question is for Sigung Suk Eric. A few weeks ago, you said that you just spent a lot of time on Silam Tao and didn't go to the next forms for a long time. So what was the catalyst that led you to pursue Chum Q and the other forms?
Actually, I did a good amount of Chum Q training, but again, the emphasis just has always been Sinum Tao. The reason I started working more, and I had worked on Buji, it was just like, in the 10 to 40 hours a week I was putting in for the first 6 to 10 years, it's more Sinum Tao, a lot of Chum Q. But less of the Buji, just now and then, and less of the Jin Man, Jin Choi's, and all that. But when I decided, okay, I'm finally putting myself in the position of being a Sifu, I got to be able to teach this stuff to other people. So then I started working on it more and looking for more information and studying different things.
Cool, thank you.
May I ask a quick question? I know you're trying to get off the call, but I just want one parting shot.
Go for it, Jennifer.
I would take my answer from Sigung or any of my uncles. I've been talking with Sifu about this recently, so I know what he has to say about it, but interested in, let's say, top 3 recommendations for recovery, because I find I'm just sore a lot. And there's a certain amount of getting used to, but then there's days where I'm so sore that I'm not, the training that I want to do is impossible that day. So I've talked to a lot of trainers. There's drinking water, there's different supplements, but your top three.
For me, it's active recovery. So active recovery could be light versions of what made you sore. So that's what you hear from trainers a lot. So just playing forms, playing light forms and doing Hyun Saos will heal your bruises, heal your arms. You could do, so for me, that's the main thing is active recovery. Then from there, I would also, I would use some kind of anti-inflammatory, and then recovery showers. So going into like a cold shower, or even starting in a hot shower, turn the water all the way cold for as long as you can, then turn the water as hot as you can handle, and you can kind of go back and forth with that. But for the main thing, it's like, especially if you get back into the training after a while, you're going to be sore, and you just have to deal with it. You heal yourself as much as you can, and then it goes away. And then it becomes more normalized, and then you have to fight to get that feeling again. But those would be my top three things: is forms, some kind of anti-inflammatory, and then and the anti-inflammatory, like I like the kind that's like a gel you put on the spot where it hurts, so you don't take it through your system. But that for me,
Okay.
that's what I do when I have to, like if I start like I just did start lifting again after I had a major injury where I tore my calf off from a bike accident. So I started lifting. I just started squatting again and squatting up to full body, and not being able to walk. That means I squat the next day. I just squat very light, maybe an empty barbell. If that makes sense. Like if squatting would hurt me, doing the same motion will also heal me. So if it's Kung Fu related, I would typically say Kung Fu would also, go through the same movements. Like you could do Pak Sao in the air, and that should heal you from doing a lot of Pak Sao.
Can I help also with my experience? I just turned 50 last year. So if you didn't know, I'm 50 years old. And one of the things I do have to pay attention to is my intensity. It's easy for me to do a punch out and just hurt my elbow, my kicks, and just pull a muscle and stuff like that. So what I really do pay attention to is my intensity. I try not to do too much too quick, because I will feel sore the next day, especially when I did the iron like today. That's a result of that, because I really pushed myself. And so that intensity equates to more feeling sore because you're using your muscles more. So you didn't know, now you know. Thank you.
You're at 12:30.
Jennifer,
sick,
I always
Eric?
thought you were,
12:30
I
is
thought you were in my
technically
screen,
1,
Jennifer.
2, 3. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 0. Now, so the top 3 things for recovery, right?
Yes.
And so your issues again are what?
Well, it's just the type of training and the amount of it, plus combining a lot of different things, doing a lot of weight training for structure, plus cardio
Sure.
for wind. Then you add in all the intense conditioning for the Kung Fu, and it's like,
Yeah. All right.
I'm just interested because
No, you
like I
need,
said, I've talked to Sifu about it.
right. Now you do need 3 things. You need 3 things that are important here. One is rest. Number 2 is diet. And a diet could include hydration.
Okay.
So don't make hydration number 3. Number 3 is schedule. So these are the 3 most important things to recovery. Serious rest. Rest definitely includes a decent sleep program, but then you've got to have a certain amount of downtime where your body has a little bit of inactivity, so it could just sort of sit there and thread together. What do you call it? Thread or weave itself together.
Mm-hmm.
So you need rest, diet, and schedule. Or instead of saying schedule, you could say time. Rest, diet, and time. Those 3 things. We could write a book called Wing Chun, Rest, Diet, and Time. That's how you're going to make this work. Each of those words have 4 letters. So you have the book, have the title in a column. Wing Chun, Rest, Diet, Time. Which means like your rest or your sleeping schedule, your diet, you've got to have protein. It's the most important thing probably to the recovery you're looking at anyway. Certain control over carbs, of course, because the body does need that. And then, so rest, diet, and time or schedule. And the schedule is essentially the most important thing, though. You know, people have a habit of overtraining. And the number one way to overtrain is to not have an objective. You have to have a clear objective as to why you're training, and that'll help you set up what you need as far as the intensity of training. You know, it'll be clearer. So if you have a reason for doing a lot of weight training and cardio and things of that nature, it's cool, but you want to probably start really looking at the objective there, you know? All right, so what's the solid objective? So then maybe you might not be able to get this thing done in 3 months worth of time. It may actually take you 8 months worth of time to get this particular objective accomplished. So maybe you've got to change your workout routine using the same things, but you're changing the workout routine, spacing them out differently, using different levels of intensity to get the actual result you want. But you're not going to get it in 3 months. It's not really, but so much of an achievable objective. I don't care. There might be some health club people that are experienced as hell as training people, but maybe they're unconscious to the fact that they're trying to push people to get something done in 3 months that takes 8 months. That's a consideration, you know? Training is something that you want to think about for a whole lifetime, you know? Not like take forever to do it, not like be lazy, but you got to take your time. It takes a certain amount of time to get through 2 years. You're not going to get the 2-year result done in 3 months. It's going to be 24 months. No matter how hard you train, no matter what intensity you do, it's going to be 3 months. It's going to be 3 months result. Then 24 months is 24 months. So the bottom line is like certain things we want to do with weightlifting and cardio and pushing our body to be a bit more superhuman. We might need a goal with stuff like that. Like, are we going to play a certain sport or something? Or do we want our body to be a certain way? Do we want our muscle to be a certain size or whatever? You know, how long does it take to get a 6-pack or something? Should we get it done in 3 months, or should we just relax and get it done in 8 months? Adjust the program and do that. So schedule is also, but not just that part of the schedule too now though. Like really just scheduling in like what's going on with your body. Why are you sore? How far are you pushing it? Is it okay to push it? You know, is it okay? In our mind, we might have something made up that we're going to do, but is it really okay to push it a certain way? We don't know. Maybe we need to examine that. So how effective is the soreness? Are we giving ourselves enough time to actually recover? So is that soreness, is there something with the soreness that happens? Look, I know that professional athletes can deal with a lot of pain. They might be able to play through certain injuries. They might be able to play through, you know, certain recovery times. Instead of recovering, they might play through it, you know? And before they become pros or semi-pros, they might do it in amateur leagues, high school, whatever, younger leagues, because they're really pushing to get to the top. Of course, a lot of people get eliminated along the way. They injure themselves in such a way they can't keep doing that sport, you know? But finally, when people get there and it starts to pay off for them, it's great. The one way it really pays off for a lot of people, though, is this way. You know, when you're getting paid a whole bunch of money, you might decide you want to work through an injury. If there's some trainer telling you to work through an injury right now, you got to assess that. Why are we working through an injury? So we could be like a pro athlete who's getting paid $1 million to do that or $10 million to do that. You know, what is it we have to do in our daily lives that fits with our training program? You know, one thing for sure is in most cases, a person could work out about 10 hours a week in Wing Chun Kung Fu, one way or the other. You know, no matter how busy their week is, in 168 hours of a week, they could probably figure out a way to get in like 10 hours a week, you know, 1 hour here, hour there, if they wanted to. It then becomes a matter of focus and discipline as well as objective. Why would they want that much Kung Fu? Do they really? Because you really only need 3 hours a week of Wing Chun, 3 solid good hours a week of Wing Chun Kung Fu, and you will have an expertise that is great. I mean, like advanced expertise even in fighting, not like looking like you know martial arts or being demonstrative, but actually being able to hit someone with a hard fist and strike them in a way that really hurts and is highly effective, whether it's just a fight or a self-defense situation. To come into the Wing Chun system after 24 months of training, a person more than has that ability. You know, if they go any longer than that, they're only increasing their advanced nature of what they have. And if they do 10 hours a week, they develop a devastating Kung Fu ability. They train a little bit at the school, a little bit at home, a little bit with some friends, and it equals 10 hours a week. They will be a Chinese Kung Fu expert or a master in a certain amount of time. If they're consistent with that, that's just the way it is. It's 40 hours a month. And we've more than proven that in this family for sure, with everyone who's trained. We've trained with people, supported them with their schedules in such a way that they gained a insight on the nature of schedules. You know, we broke down the whole 168-hour week thing. We looked at what it means to actually have 108 hours a week of waking time. Like when you are wide awake for the most part. So that's the nature of the waking time. And then you gotta figure out your life with 108 hours a week. It's kind of weird that it ends up being a Wing Chun number, 108 Mukyan Jong, right? But what do we expect, you know? In any event, the nature of it is, again, rest, diet, time. You know, what is your program for actual inactivity and sleeping, recovering, sitting down, doing nothing, like maybe reading a book if there's not a heavy book that taxes your brain, something enjoyable, or watch a TV show or something, you know, really letting your body sit there and do the recovery thing, let it weave itself back together. So rest and of course, a decent sleep program, of course. But diet means getting the food that really matches, honestly, with what your body needs. Like really, not like, you know, everyone thinks you got to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger to fight on the battlefield. In reality, the guys who look like Arnold Schwarzenegger on the battlefield generally go down first. If you don't have a big old gut on a battlefield, you're probably going to be going down, you know? If you're some skinny, wiry guy, you may have a good survival instinct. And I'm not, you know, I'd put some money on a skinny, wiry guy too, has that high metabolism. But I'm gonna tell you right now, when it comes down to real combat on the street, you want some mass if you got it, if you can get it. Wing Chun's the only thing, you know? I couldn't even gain weight before Wing Chun. So, in any event though, what it takes to really get in shape, what does it mean to do whatever someone's trying to do with their body? If you're a Wing Chun person, first and foremost, think about at least 3 solid hours of serious Wing Chun Kung Fu per week by yourself, with friends, or in the class with classmates, seniors and juniors and Sifus and all that kind of stuff. How can 3 solid, really good hours happen? If you get to 10, that really puts a lot of things in place. If you start thinking about other exercises, especially you want to do some training outside of Wing Chun, my rule for me personally, and what I think passes down from, you know, the generations, is that golden rule, you know, 10% of your time really gets a lot done on something. So either you're going to put 1.6 hours or whatever, no, 16 hours a week into something, 16.8 hours a week, or you may look at it as 10.8 hours a week, something like that. Because if it's your waking hours, if it's something important, you at least got to give it a certain amount of concentration, 10 hours a week. You know? I'll tell you a secret to life. If you want a relationship to work, you actually have to give it at least 10 hours a week, like with the person you're in a relationship with. You can sometimes go without that, but you have to have it 10 hours a week at least. I mean, where you're really spending the one-on-one time. Funny, right? You want to master your job, 40 hours a week, you got to go to work, right? 10 hours a week, you have to be perfect. Perfect. Everything else just falls in place, you know? So you want to really get great at Wing Chun Kung Fu, you have to build yourself up to 10 hours a week. It doesn't mean every week for years and years. It means you have to have a majority of your time be devoted that way. And then you always have to have a day off in between your workout. With the Wing Chun schedule, it works out like 3 days a week you could train, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? Then you have 2 days off though, Saturday and Sunday. So you have Tuesday and Thursday off too. That's the best way to build up your Wing Chun. You have time off. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, off. What happens with the Saturday kicking and footwork? Yeah, that class, there's an opening on Saturdays in every Wing Chun school where that goes on. Doesn't mean you go every Saturday. What about Tuesday night forums and Thursday night bloody lip chi sao night? Yes, shh, stop talking about all the secrets of Wing Chun. Yeah, we have the Tuesday night advanced forums. Thursday night bloody lip night. It goes in that order. You train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's 3 nights a week you train. When your Kung Fu gets old enough, then you start to train on a Saturday to practice kicks and footwork. That's what you do. When your Kung Fu gets old enough after that, you can start having advanced forms on Tuesday night. And then you have to build up your Kung Fu a lot because you're not allowed to go to Thursday night bloody lip night until you have enough Kung Fu. You're not allowed to be in the room unless you have enough Kung Fu. You have to be able to take a bloody lip as well as give a bloody lip. That's real Wing Chun training. So we start out 3 nights a week. If someone wants to go far with Wing Chun, they'll do the schedule that we just discussed. You know, if you have time to train that way, fine. But if someone only does 3 nights a week, guess what? More Kung Fu than they could ever ask for. We don't sit back and say, oh, you won't have all the Kung Fu in the world with 3 nights a week. We'll get everything done Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But we have to have the capacity for the people who are going to do it that other way too, because it's the old school. So therefore, on Saturday, we will have footwork training and kicking training and fighting combinations training, and then people do chi sao, of course. On Tuesday is advanced forms, period. You might work on something else advanced on Tuesdays, but mainly Tuesdays are for forms because forms builds you up so that your body can take the chi sao on Thursday night. You do chi sao Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we know, but you don't do chi sao like a Thursday night chi sao unless you're doing something like that. You don't have a real Thursday night chi sao experience Wednesday night after class or Friday night after class. You know, Thursday night advanced chi sao is a whole unique energy. It's a dimension. If you are going to go by the Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, Monday night is Moyat family form and detail, so you're really clear about what our Wing Chun form is. Monday night is that. Wednesday night is Wing Chun night, everything Wing Chun. And Friday night is fight night. So Wednesday you work on a lot of chi sao. Friday you work on fighting techniques and sparring and conditioning. That's how Monday, Wednesday, Friday breaks down. Monday night, Moyat detail. Wednesday, Wing Chun, so a lot of chi sao and form. Friday, Wing Chun Kung Fu fighting or Kung Fu fighting technique, period. And you know, that's it. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday is supposed to be very, very filled, you know? And when you have enough Kung Fu, then you can do a Saturday. Because Saturday was specialized on legs, kicking, footwork, etc. Then, of course, fighting combo drills, whatever you want. Yeah, a lot of good stuff to do on Saturday. But Tuesday, come in, it's a very quiet night. Everyone's doing forms. You just see a lot of people do forms. That's what Tuesday night is like. And then Thursday, you come in, no one's talking. It's all chi sao. The hands are doing the talking. 10-hour schedule for Wing Chun. You can't do it forever, but if you ever get a chance to do it, you do it. You can't do it your whole lifetime. You can't even do it 20 years straight. You're lucky if you could do something like that for 1 year straight. And then you have different spikes throughout training where you can get into a zone like that for a few months. That kind of schedule is very hard, you know? Now, if you're doing a Wing Chun training and then you're playing a sport or you're doing some other work like in gyms and stuff, you have to really become very conscious of the toll it takes on your body and really study your schedule to make sure you make it fit the way it has to fit appropriately with all the stuff you have going on. You know, take your time is the first step. You probably would just change a 3-month schedule to an 8-month schedule. Just change it. You know, make it take time, enjoy it, spread the schedule out a little bit more and enjoy the experience, enjoy the growth and development, etc. So that's important, you know. I cannot emphasize the importance of rest. I couldn't emphasize that more. It's so hard for us to think about that. Everybody here is like me. You feel guilty when you're resting. And then I've learned a technique though to force myself to rest. One of these days we'll get into that, and it does work. Trust me, it's amazing. It's a stupid thing. You sit there and you do a certain level of rest and suddenly 10 hours later, your body literally transforms if you're monitoring it, So I'm in a unique situation because I do this work for a living. I could do something like that as an experiment many different times. I mean, I know physically from experience what goes on like that. I've done periods where I've experimented and watched what it was like for my body to go through a 24-hour recovery after an intense workout. And when did it get back to that balanced state again and all the pain went away or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of different experiences like that. Very lucky, And right now, I would suggest that people be more gentle on their bodies. Be more organized, though. So don't have your workout be all over the place. As much as give yourself a little time. Think about your schedule. When do you have your openings? What's really good? Anxiety plays a lot in how good a workout, result can be. So lessen your anxiety and practice the technique of, learning to relax in every situation. So it's things like that is the 3 best things I'm saying, the diet speaks for itself. Don't overlook that. Forget it. So, and there's a lot of research there. You got to figure out the diet that actually matches your training schedule and stuff like that. So,
we're already up on 1 o'clock here.
All right, fine. We got to go. I'm getting ready to head back to Richmond. Still up here in Fredericksburg.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to the workshop this weekend. Thank you, Sifu.
Cool, man. Doja.
Yeah.
Doja.
See everyone soon.
All right, see you guys this week. We get a chance for some follow-up. See you in a minute.
All right. Bye, everyone.